LitterCostume.org states that 9 billion tons of waste are dumped into Earth's oceans every year. 9 billion tons. Now, how does that make you feel? Does it bother you? Couldn't care less? Well, needless to say, if you're indifferent to the problem, then sadly you're part of the problem. Although I'm sure many of us are used to seeing our streets riddled and stacked meters high with trash, this is a problem that we can no longer ignore. And although it's obvious, of the negative effects of litter are obvious enough, but yet people keep doing it. And if we continue to sweep this problem under the rug, then it may be too late to do anything at all. Now, this is important because litter negatively affects Earth and all of its inhabitants. According to the American Environmental Protection Agency, litter causes habitat alteration, and habitat alteration is caused by litter and debris buildup in oceanic convergences and submerged benthic habitats. Now, this alteration not only negatively affects pretty much all marine life, it harms and disrupts the human food chain. Ultimately, people need to stop littering. People ultimately need to stop littering because of the negative effects it has on the planet and all of its inhabitants. In my speech, I will be discussing littering and why it needs to stop. I will mainly be addressing problem, causes, and solutions. To begin, the main issue is that people have been littering for so much and for so long that it seems to have become a common practice. Sadly, it's become all too common to see our streets riddled and ravaged with trash. Our streets. The apathetic nature of the masses only worsens this issue, as KeepTennesseeBeautiful.org states that people often litter because they lack a sense of responsibility and therefore don't feel the need to pick up after themselves. This lack of awareness and apathy gives the future generations the impression that littering is normal and holds no consequence, which is obviously far from the truth. Imagine having a group of your closest friends over. You invite them into your space because you trust them. Then all of a sudden they leave your room a mess. They leave it in tatters. A complete 180 from how they found the room. Now they've created a mess that you're responsible for taking care of. Now, naturally, you would never have them over again, right? So why should we tolerate that very behavior in our society? Why should we stand by and just watch the world, our world, brought before our eyes? Simply put, we shouldn't. TheStreet.com states that the United States produces 275,000 tons of plastic every year, with a high chance of said plastic polluting surrounding rivers and oceans. Now, seeing as rivers and oceans are vital to the survival of every living organism on the earth, this is a major problem. With all of that plastic potentially going into our oceans, and many of it already being in our oceans, this is something that we must fix immediately, because if not, then we all perish. Next, I'll be discussing some of the causes of this dangerous practice. Now, it's no secret that every process has a genesis. This problem is mainly caused by people who either don't know or don't care about the negative impacts that littering has on the planet. They often, knowing or not knowingly, go through life contributing to the slow devastation of our planet through their everyday actions and decisions. Only a small minority of people know about the dangerous effects of littering. And with that being said, most people, even those of us in this very room, have littered at some point in their lives. Whether we realize it or not, we're the problem. Now, personally, I'm definitely guilty of this behavior. Not so much that I litter, but I've definitely been desensitized to the amount of litter I've seen on the streets in my day-to-day life. According to envstd.org, 75% of Americans have littered within the past 5 years. Now, seeing as there are 7.5 billion people on the planet, this statistic is truly staggering. What's more, it doesn't help that the government doesn't seem to deem this a crucial issue, as it only spends $11.5 billion on public cleanup efforts. And with as much money as the government has, and with how crucial of an issue this is, this simply should not be the case. Even before all this pandemic conundrum came about, there was little to no news or media coverage of littering and the effects it has on many communities across the nation. With this lack of exposure, how are people supposed to know this is even an issue? How are people supposed to reach out to those who want to make a difference? Quite frankly, why should people even care? Lastly, I'll be talking about some solutions and actions that can be done to stop littering. Now, despite all the problems and causes, there are a variety of actions that we can take to reverse all the damage that littering, or at least some of the damage that littering has done. For starters, those actions are, we can recycle, hold each other accountable, and enforce consequences for littering. Now, with enforcing consequences for littering, it can be sort of a monkey see, monkey do type of thing, where by enforcing consequences for littering, it'll discourage people from littering. And this enforcement will naturally cause, like I said, a monkey see, monkey do effect, and that a small subset of people will stop littering, and then gradually more and more people will decide to stop littering. It doesn't have to be on any martial law kind of thing, just enforce more than it already is. Now, for recycling, it can be as common as us throwing things away, much in the same way that we do now. According to earth911.com, littering reduces plastic, is cheaper than waste collection and disposal, and save trees and forests. Now, there are a variety of benefits to recycling. It's just we have to be willing to make an effort to see that. And finally, with holding each other accountable, I'm sure we all have people that we've seen litter, or who are what I would call a chronic litterer. And we often don't say anything out of fear of annoying them or of drawing any negative attention towards ourselves. But by being silent, we're contributing to the very problem that I'm talking about. So with that being said, I just went through some of the problems, causes, and solutions to littering, and basically we have to stop littering, just because there is a whole future generation who's going to inherit the earth while we're buried beneath it. So with that being said, before you think about littering or taking the easy way out, just think about what's at stake. Thank you.